So I got this beautiful little cartoon, and it says, "Boy," there's a little couple here sharing ice cream. "Boy, this is even better than I was when I was looking forward to it." So for all of those of you waiting and looking forward to awakening, looking forward to enlightenment, looking forward to peace, it's going to be better than when you wait for it. You might as well go ahead and have it. And did you know that all those love, peace, joy, the things you desire, are in infinite quantity right now? You can have all you want. It's not like they're making more of it, and you need to wait till there's an adequate supply in a year. You're welcome to have all of it infinitely now, and it'll always be present. All the love that's ever been is present right now. There was not little bits of it long ago, and there won't be more of it later. So come on board. So whoever left that, thank you very much. And the note on it said, "Just like strawberries." Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery. We're starting our deepening of lesson number 6 tonight. Love heals all things. Love, and it should say love alone, heals all without exception, all things. All of us that are looking for healing, looking for forgiveness, looking for either physical healing or emotional healing, bam, you know where to look now. Bingo. How did that shorten your journey? There's one thing that heals all things, and it's love. Jeshua is going to talk to us about that tonight. Let's see. Nobody's new here tonight, so I can dispense with that. If there's anyone new online, welcome. But you don't have to like what I have to say. You're welcome to use it. If it works for you, use it. If not, throw it out. Ask your inner guide for the truth. Please don't take my experience and try and substitute it for your truth. Have your own experience. That's the only way you can ever know. It's not no good to ask someone else about their orgasm. I mean, have your own. Have your own direct experience. You need your own direct experience of truth, and you have an onboard guide that will get you there. I'm happy to help anyone, but you already got all you need already. We'll start tonight with the axioms.
I am created as my Father created me to be. I am free, and nothing sources my experience but me and each moment. Nothing has an effect on me whatsoever, save that which I choose to allow to affect me. I need do nothing. I do not live any ordinary moments. With each breath, my experiences are the stepping stones laid before me of God to guide me home. Therefore, I will bring awareness to each moment and allow it to teach me how to forgive, how to embrace, how to love, and therefore how to live fully. The only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source. And the keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you reading those for us every week. So tonight, in the first 3, I'm only going to deal with the first letter. I, and I. The entire spiritual journey is the absolute and total transformation of what I means to you. We first start with I means I'm this body, and I'm my past, and I'm my experience. We end the journey with the I that is all of creation. In its expressed form, in its unexpressed potential form. So we never lose identity. We simply transform that identity over time, either in short, quick bursts or in very long, slow, methodical bursts. The identity that you think you are as the body-mind, you will lose it. I'm telling you, it's going to be no loss at all. Because that body-mind's scared, that body-mind's needy, that body-mind's angry, that body-mind judges, all kinds of stuff. When you recognize and begin to wake up that the I of you, the very ground of your being, the very form of your existence, is the same I that is God, the same source, that you and that Creator are one, not apart, with no second, you'll recognize there's nothing to fear. That the body is but a temporary expression that you're having across infinite possibilities. So what your I means to you will change over time. The I that's the ego, it doesn't want to be left behind. It doesn't want to be abandoned. But when you remember your infinite self, you won't have much room left for that tiny little whiny self. You won't need it. So there's a lot of fear on a spiritual path that you're going to lose your identity. You're going to lose your sense of self. You're going to lose everything that you've stuck to your sense of self. You're not going to lose your sense of being. But what that means to you will transform dramatically as you walk the pathway. So if you read that, like number 2, if your I means body-mind, you really don't agree with this, I don't need to do nothing, and you alternately are like, hell yeah, I don't need to do nothing. I don't need to do what my wife asks, I don't need to get off the couch, whatever the point may be. But if you recognize number 2, and you speak it as though you're the Christ consciousness or your God self, I need do nothing. Well, of course, duh. Who's over you? What power is outside of you that would force you to do anything? You recognize that creation is always a creative act from choice. And that choice is made as the I am that we are. So this whole process is about the disillusion of the idea that you're small and limited and the waking up to your ever greater Christ self. So that I will mean many, many different things to you along your path. What it means to you right now is what you believe to be true about you. It's not a problem. It's just not the whole truth. If you're willing to surrender what you believe yourself to be, you make room for the truth to begin to inform you about what you are. And that's the process of forgiveness, letting go of what I've judged myself to be and allowing love to inform me about what I really am. So that's the first 3 tonight. I, and allow that transformation. And number 4, let's see what we'll pull out of there tonight. Relationship. It's the ability to be in relation with the other aspects of yourself. We think in our body-mind, if I means I'm this, then Kathy, you must be a separate thing. But the sonship that Jeshua talks about in the Course in Miracles is one. So I'm actually in relationship with myself. A different aspect of myself, not someone that I have deemed to be other, but that God is expressing as 2 of the same thing. They may look different, they may have greatly different appearances, but the I that's behind all of it is the same. So the sonship is always in relationship to itself. That's why he said every encounter you have is a holy encounter. So how many of us walk around in our everyday consciousness knowing every person you meet is the holy encounter? It's God itself looking right back at you. When you begin to consciously do that, you'll be amazed at what begins to be reflected back at you because you're standing in the truth, and the truth will start to reflect back to you, just like the mirror. We've used the mirror example many times, but if you're body-mindness and you're out there looking for other guilty body-minds, you never have any trouble finding them. They're like a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. So relationship is the recognition that you are always in relationship with yourself as part of the sonship. You can't ever be in relation to anything other than another aspect of yourself. So that gives that number 4 a whole different meaning. The only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source. And by the way, God is all that is, so that includes all that is. You can't say, well, I'm not in relationship with the terrorists, but I'm in relationship with God. Well, God's all that is, and that includes those that seem to be wearing terrorist costumes. So, that was fun. Thanks. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to channel a little love. It's the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. Anyone have any questions? I think everybody here's heard it. Just relax. Let it speak to you. The soul that you are knows this prayer because it created this prayer.
Awun, the Boshmaya, Nita Kadash Shama, Tete Malkuda, Neve Sivinach, Akina, the Boshmaya, O Baraha, Haulan, Lachman, Sunkanan, Yalmana, Boshwoklan, Halbain, Akina, Daphanan, Shwakin, El Hayabain. Ula talan el mission, el pasan membish. But all the lachim el kuda, uhaila, utish bhakta. La alam, amin, amen. Need Kadash Shema Tete Melkuda Nehwe Sidina Akanada Vashmaya Upadaha Haulan Lachman Sunkanan Yamana Vashwoklan Habain Aikana Dapanan Shwakin Hayabin Ula Talan Mission El Pasan But all the Hakim El Kuda Uhaila Utish Bhakta La Allah Amin
Okay, here we go, Cindy. You ready, or did I jump ahead too quick?
Now we begin. And indeed, once again, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. Indeed, greetings to you, beloved and holy friends. If you understand the meaning of this greeting, if you comprehend the depth of each term used, already you know all there is to know, and you are well prepared to extend the love of God forever. Indeed means simply that there are no other options. Greetings unto you, salutations to that one created of the Father before all things, for I bow down before your radiance. Greetings unto you, beloved and holy child of God, indeed beloved of God, indeed beloved of every molecule in your physical universe, indeed loved of your holy mother, this precious earth, indeed loved of anything you can imagine that has ever existed or ever could exist, but that has extended itself from the heart and mind of God. You are the beloved, pure and simple. And again, there are no options.
You know, he started every one of these lessons with a very short but powerful dissertation about the truth of what we are. He said that they explode with joy when they come to join with us in this way. Explode with joy. He's talking about getting on his knees and bowing at your feet because of the truth of who you are as Christ. His beautiful symbol of washing the disciples' feet was just that. You are not less than I as Christ. You are as I am, and I honor that. So if we go back to being in relationship, can you imagine being so overcome with the radiance of every being that you meet that you'd be prepared to fall to your knees in front of them? He's offering that to you because He knows the truth of what you are, what we all are. So greetings to you, beloved and holy friends, created and loved of the Father and whole, complete, as you were created to be. He's going to go on here in just a minute to say, if you get that, boom, deal over. You're only on lesson 6. You may not need the other, 28? If you recognize that you're only always in relationship with God, with yourself, period. And can acknowledge that rather than all the images that we've put in our body minds about that tell us what someone else is that's other than their belovedness and their holiness. We've made a life out of judging everyone's ego Halloween costume rather than seeing the Christ behind them, the truth behind them that's forever radiant and forever pure. So he says, if you know this and you comprehend it, you know all there is to know. But he's not going to leave it at that. He's going to go on to explain it to us so there's no doubt in our minds. He's going to tell us intellectually what it is so that we can take this and contemplate it and listen and experience what the depth of the meaning of it is. And when you experience that, you know with a capital K, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but know, K-N-O-W, happens to have now in it. It's the only time you can ever know. It's the only time you can ever be in truth is now. Knowledge is now. So where are you unwilling to accept this truth about yourself wholly? And where are you unwilling to accept it about anyone else? Because in case you're thinking you've done unholy things, he goes on in the paragraph to say, you are loved by anything you can imagine that has ever existed or ever could exist. So we all imagine the dream of separation. Big deal. That's loved too. That was given freely. It's like the prodigal son story. Here's your inheritance. Knock yourself out. That's the truth of it. You are beloved, pure, and simple, and that's never changed no matter how hard you've tried to convince yourself and everyone else of your guilt. So just look at your life in ways that you fight for your smallness rather than accepting this. If Jeshua were to manifest a body, I can assure you I'm going to be knocking to be the first in line because he's going to bow at my feet. And I don't mean that as a body mind. I mean I have accepted the truth of what I am as Christ. And I would hope that each and every one of you, and I wouldn't really push anyone out of the way, but would come and acknowledge, I wouldn't do that. But the point is, how eager are you to accept this truth about you? Or how pushed back into the couch are you in life? Instead of leaning into this truth, how far back are we going, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that because I sure don't want my neighbor to be God. I sure don't want my neighbor to be innocent because their guilt is what's going to make sure I'm saved. Are you willing to lean into this and at least take Jeshua and God's word that that's true, not what the ego's been telling you for your whole life, not what every other ego running around the world tells you? It's your choice. Which do you want to believe? a bunch of sleeping, frightened minds, or the clear mind of Christ? Indeed, every molecule of the physical universe. I mean, he's trying to make sure everything is in this paragraph. He's not leaving anything out. He's saying there are no exceptions. None. Zero exceptions. That everything is within God and everything is beloved of God. Period.
Holy, because you are whole, not because you have earned that holiness, but because it is that which is the truth from which you are extended forth forever, because you are made in the image of God, because you spring forth from the mind of God. You are holiness itself each time you set aside the temptation to dream a useless dream and walk this earth as Christ. Beloved and holy friend, a friend is not one lesser than myself. A friend is one who walks in perfect equality with the grandest of masters, whoever you might conceive such a master to be. A friend is one who chooses to look upon another and see only the face of Christ therein. And there is no one present in this room, and indeed there shall never be anyone present in the hearing of these words, that has not already looked upon me and seen the face of Christ within. And likewise, I look upon you and call you friend.
Holy, complete, without any part missing. Now. And the only thing that stands between the realization of that and where you are now is the thought that goes, but. And that's it. It's an identity that says arising is no. And it's not about the but, because the ego can have you running around chasing the but so that you understand it. The but is just a distraction so you don't look at that which thinks it can disagree. That's the problem. Don't get distracted by running down all the ego's desires to gain more knowledge. That's just another trick. You can run around like crazy doing that. But rather than going, what is it in me that's unwilling to accept that and thinks it needs more proof? That would have to be the ego, would it not? Of course it would. And beloved and holy friend, beloved of God, created of God, and already whole, so you have to be a friend because you're the same thing. You can't be opposite to that despite the fact that we think that. And is a friend who walks in perfect equality. He has used that in almost every lesson, that we are perfect equals with Him, period. Because recognize we are as God created us to be, infinite creators. We're using the infinite creative capacity to create a false dream that we're not what we are. We're not what we were created to be. And we've done it with incredible convincingness, have we not? That takes mastery, doesn't it? So you recognize we're using the creative capacity simply to create an experience of separation rather than the effortless, full recognition of wholeness, which we are perfectly equal to Jeshua, or he goes on to say that with the grandest masters, whatever you may conceive a master to be, because he's not sharing in your definitions. He knows the truth, and he knows we're equal, and he calls us friend. Because we're one self. And we're that now, not later, but now. So anyone in this room, and for those of you, I almost felt it. Well, I wasn't in the room when he channeled that, so he must be talking about somebody else. Or all of those of you hearing the words now have already looked upon him and seen the face of Christ. You may not be consciously aware of it, but what in the world got you in this room? You may not be aware that it's His Spirit, the Spirit of love, moving through you that is compelling you and drawing you to the truth. So all of those of you who have doubts, well, I don't ever hear Yeshua. I've never had any blah. He's calling bullshit on you. And clearly it's not his misunderstanding, it's ours. Because how many times do we sit and wait for Spirit? Spirit, come. Spirit, Spirit. I'm not hearing anything. All that's our denial. We can't but help to hear Him when we recognize we're oneself, that the truth is already true. So I look upon you as Christ and call you friend, and always have been friends, and always will be friends, because what God created will never change. We can dream all kinds of dreams across all kinds of realms and play all kinds of games and put on all kinds of costumes. The truth is, we're still that. So all of us that are in our small little egos desiring to become, if we just study harder, if we just go on spiritual journeys, if we just meditate for 8 more hours a day to become what we are, you recognize all that simply is at first denying this very simple truth. It's a whole lot easier to accept the truth than to continue running around in denial of it. Much less painful, too.
For when I look upon you, I see not the very momentary dreams that you seem to think are lasting so long. I see only the radiance of that which my Father has extended out of love. I see only that which has neither beginning nor ending, and I see only that which neither birth nor death. I see only that which has no limitations. I see only that, the light of which is already extended throughout all dimensions and all universes.
Thank you, honey. I'm going to do that one first. So all of us who think our suffering is important to Jeshua, that He's going to come and save us from it, He doesn't even see it. He doesn't give it a reality. He doesn't take your dreams and make them real. He looks right through it and recognizes the truth of you are as that light which is extended throughout all dimensions and all universes. I mean, just think about it for a moment. Do you want Jeshua to meet you in your dream where you're unworthy? No, of course not. Thank God somebody's holding the truth for us. So we couldn't actually lose it and convince ourselves. He even popped into the dream to prove it to us. That's the truth. Are you willing to look upon yourself that way? And even if you don't know what it's like, are you willing to be open to it? And are you willing to be open to seeing that's true of every other being that you interact with? And by the way, beings aren't just humans. They're trees. Every molecule in the universe is conscious and is an expression of love. He sees only the radiance which the Father has extended out of love. The infinite creative capacity that you are. So He'll celebrate the story. I mean, when I woke up, He was there to celebrate my creation with me of what ego was. Not that it was bad, not that it was lousy, but to celebrate that the child of God used His infinite freedom to create a dream of suffering and separation, and then chose to let that go and accept what the truth was. There was no judgment about it. It was like the prodigal son being welcomed back home. Great, did you have a good time? What would you like to do now? Would you like to help me extend the love to all creation? You bet. That's the truth of it. And we need all kinds of things to convince us of that. What about just a little willingness to accept that that's the truth and it's true right now, and all of my thoughts to the contrary must be illusions, so just throw them out. Quit trying to fix an ego. Quit trying to wake up that which will never wake up. Just abandon it and accept the truth that's true right now. And it makes it really easy when you accept it, because if you truly accept it, you recognize you've accepted it for everyone. It can't be true for you and not for another. You can't be enlightened and some poor schmuck out there's not. The light that lights all universes and all dimensions is what everybody's doing to create their experience. And they're using it out of their infinite freedom. And God's saying, knock yourself out. So I see only that which has no limitations. This is why there were so many miraculous healings, because he didn't see a limitation with nobody being dead. Well, what kind of limitation is that? If you look in your consciousness, you might think that's a really big limitation. It was no big deal to him. He didn't even saw it. He saw the radiance of what Lazarus was, not the appearance of the body. Quadriplegic, same thing. You think it's a limitation to multiply form? I don't think so. Bam, more fishes and loaves. That's what, and he said, you'll do these things and more. This is the truth. You guys look a little stunned out there. A little stunned. So this doesn't match with your self-perception? The I that he's pointing to with this is not what you think you are? Well, great. You should have a pretty easy time with discernment now. It should be pretty easy for you to recognize when you're in limitation and when you're not. And one thing he asked me was, Jeshua, do you share this opinion that I have of myself? Nope. Then that means I have to have created out of my power something unlike the truth, so it's time to let it go. It's a simple thing. Does Jeshua share my opinion of myself as sick and frail and poor and guilty and unworthy and not good enough? Nope. He knows that's just what you made with your radiant light. You're welcome to wake up from it.
I see only my brother and my sister, and I see not a trace of inequality between us. And yet I do recognize that within your dream, it appears to you that I have gone ahead just a little bit. And at times within your hearts, there's a longing to follow me. And if you would but heed that longing, if you would make that longing primary at all times, your own desire will bring you wholly to where I am. And you will laugh when you discover that you haven't moved an inch, that where I am is where you are, and where you are is in eternity and not in time. That where you are is the place of your birth, the mind of God. This is the only thing that is true and is true always. This is the only reality that you genuinely possess. Therefore, indeed, I call you friend, for well do I see that you are as I am, and therefore, indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends.
I mean, he's going to beat this drum for a couple paragraphs, isn't he? He's going to say it in almost every way so that the mind that's the ego has no but to escape from. He's cutting off every denial route with some expression of truth. So he recognizes that we may be experiencing a dream of limitation, but he knows it's just a dream. And we're free to stop that dream because we're the one having it. It's not being done to us. We're the one having the dream by holding the self-perceptions that we have. And you don't need to adopt the self-perceptions that you adopted 30, 40, 50 years ago when your parents told you, you weren't good because you didn't clean your plate. Or the kindergarten teacher said you had no art talent because you couldn't stay within the lines. Or an old boyfriend or girlfriend said you were a lousy kisser. You recognize that oftentimes we simply adopt everyone else's opinions about us and then we make them our own. Dump all of them. If you want an opinion, why don't you just start with Yeshua's? Start with that one. And you will laugh when you discover that you haven't moved an inch. I've been asked many, many times, well, if you've woken up, why are you still here? Aren't you supposed to be in heaven? Why would you stay here? I'm like, this is heaven. There's nowhere to go. There's no other place to be. I'm in the mind of God and I always have been and I can't get out of it. And I'm content to be wherever He would have me be, right here, right now. And I'm having a whole lot of fun reminding you that that's where you are. And always have been and always will be. Why do you think Buddha is known as the laughing Buddha? Because when you wake up to this, it's like the biggest duh of all time, and then you just can't help but laugh at it. And you can't help but laugh at everyone else taking their story so seriously. Because here we are, gods, playing, I'm so unworthy. Maybe I'll be happy if I can just get a girlfriend or a new job or what, We're creating that whole thing of our own infiniteness. And when you wake up and you see it, you just like, oh my gosh, it is true, and I can't believe it. And then the cosmic joke will be on you, and you will have pulled it on yourself. We'll go into this mind of God. He's going to expand on that in a later lesson, so I won't go into too much depth about it now. But when you begin to recognize that you are mind, your infinite consciousness, in which you hold an image of yourself as a body-mind. And right now, you even recognize that all kinds of thoughts stream through your mind, right? Do any of them damage your mind so bad it like stops functioning? No, really, any thought can come through your mind and your mind's not damaged at all. This dream is happening in your mind, and he's trying to say, you're an infinite mind. You're not a specific thing, which is only an idea you're holding in your infinite mind. Because mind, and I'm not talking about brain, mind, it's not a physical thing. So what can hurt it? Does the mind know of time, or is time a concept held within the mind and then created an experience of time? So the unchanging and unchangeable part of yourself has always been present, or you couldn't have even misperceived yourself. If you didn't know you existed, you couldn't make up stories about what your existence was or wasn't. So you've never been separate. It's the biggest joke ever.
So we can stop now. There's nothing else to be said. And yet the mind races, does it not? And yet it races from the very reality that I have just described about you. The mind races from that source as a sunbeam to the sun. Yet in reality, it never leaves its source. And the very power with which you seem to become distracted by a momentary thought of fear is the same power by which you will awaken to your own call. In truth, there is a place within you that already knows the day and the hour. You already know when you are going to decide to live the decision to be awake in God, to be only the presence of love. And love embraces all things, allows all things, trusts all things, transcends all things. Love is never possessive. Love is never fearful. Love is simply love. Love cannot shine with specialness upon anyone at any time, for specialness itself is a contraction, the attempt to take love and make it shine only on one object, only on one person, only on one being, only within one universe.
So he's really serious about you can stop and simply abide with the truth that is true and let go of everything unlike it within your consciousness, and you don't need the next 28 lessons. But he recognizes immediately we're so unbelieving of that we won't simply wake up to it. Oh, so we're going to have to take 28 more lessons. And we're going to have to run around with the mind saying, but, all the while doing it in heaven. It's like we put pillowcases over our head and we run around in heaven. Where's the light? Where's the light? Where's the light? Where's the light? Right from the place that we're expecting to wake up to. And he says, you will awake by the same power of your own call. So all of you who are like praying to God out there somewhere and saying, when, why not me? If it happened to John Mark, it should have happened to me. It's your own call. Why would you give a power outside of you the call of creation, which you're already using to create your separation? You're going to wake up to your own realization. and you've already picked the day and the hour, well, here's a trick for you. I'll go back to the very beginning. Now! When you wake up, it'll be now, and you'll attribute it to a day and an hour on a calendar. But the truth is, it's now. And that's the only time it can ever happen. So please don't perceive this, that you've chosen it some unknown time in the future, and well, shit, you'll just have to wait around. I'm waiting for my own day and hour to come, rather than recognizing your day and hour will come when you fully accept this. And there can be some non-clarity between your thinking mind and the truth that's in your soul. But in a moment, they're going to line up, and bam, you'll know, because there won't be anything dissonant. There won't be anything out of alignment with the truth. And it'll flow radiantly into your consciousness, and you'll just start laughing. And you'll go, duh, how could I have missed it for so long? And the thought of fear, the momentary thing, you're going to recognize that time is this tiny concept in eternity, which isn't even a sense of time, and that this has all happened that quick. And you won't be distressed. The whole function of time won't be a big deal for you. He introduces here his definition of love. And you're going to hear this in almost every lesson throughout the rest of this pathway. Love allows all things, meaning nothing's off limits, including dreams of separation, including all the seemingly horrific things we do within those dreams. Love allows all things. Love, that's another way of saying God is free. Well, of course. And by the way, He just told you, you're just like Him, created in the Father's image, so you are free. Your experience you're having now is an expression of your creation from your freedom. If you don't like it, feel free to change it. But love allows all things, embraces all things. It doesn't allow it like, I'm going to allow that, but I'm going to look over here and, I don't know about that. It allows it and it says yes. And it embraces it. Each and every one of us in this dream did just this to incarnate in this realm and have this experience. We said an unequivocal, embracing yes. You don't get in here like against your own will. There is no will other than yours. But trust all things. So the Father, even trusting this dream that we would have as merely a dream. What's not to trust about it? The truth is eternally, radiantly true and protected. So in your own life, what if you recognized you could allow all things, you could actually embrace what's happening to you rather than resisting it, because it's going to keep coming back until you do finally embrace it. You want to get rid of something, embrace it. And trust that you created that out of your own infinite power, maybe to help you remember it's time to wake up rather than continuing to walk around reasonably miserable or comfortably miserable. You see what I mean? So maybe you had to create some things that might look pretty stupid and you'd go, why would I ever create that? Well, maybe that's what you needed to shake yourself enough to say, whoa, there's got to be a better way. So love allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and forever remains transcendent. So God allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, but none of it ever affects what God is. So the mind in which you have all these dreams, and by the way, you've had countless ones, your mind remains forever transcendent, unaffected by the thoughts and the dreams and the images that you've held within it. I mean, it's kind of like a glass. You can put milk in there, you put Coke in there, you put rocks in there. The glass is still the glass. It holds anything you desire to put in it. Your mind is like that glass. It's held every creation you desired to put in it, but the glass has never changed. And by the way, for someone who's out there thinking it can break, well, it's Pyrex. Okay, it can't break. So that part of you can't lose and can't ever be changed. And it's present right now, or you couldn't even realize I've created a dream inside it of me as a body. Love is never possessive. And this is an important one. I've heard Jeshua describe the process of awakening is the translation of what I and me mean to you, and we talked about that earlier, and the absolute release of mine, M-I-N-E, possession, that you as a separate being have the authority to possess anything or anyone. That's what he was saying to the rich man. Give up all your things and follow me. But to the rich man, possessions were more important than God. So it's not that possessions are bad. I'm not saying you need to run out there and let everything go. But at least release your attachment to them. If there's one thing in your life, including your own body, that you think you couldn't live without, then you've made an idol out of that. You're saying that's more important than the truth. Whether it's a pet or a spouse or a family heirloom, you have said, that is the most important thing in creation and I simply cannot live without it. So you're putting all your attention there rather than on the glass. You're putting all your attention on the contents rather than the glass of infinite potential. Does that make sense? So you're distracting yourself from the truth by having the desire to possess. Because ultimately, it's all God and it's all God's. Love is never fearful. So if you're fearful, you're not in love. So change your mind. Love is simple. Wow, and how many of us have read A Course in Miracles or something else and the ego tells us, fuck, this is complicated. Damn, this is hard to read. This is incredibly hard to understand. He actually says in the Course in Miracles, this course is simple. But all of that, you have to recognize that's the ego rising to try and distract you and confuse you from the truth. Love cannot shine with specialness upon anyone at any time. And it's ridiculous, but in the dream of separation, we think if we suffer more than anyone else, we're going to earn God's mercy. So we actually think we're going to be special because we suffered so much. I mean, you have to know the thought system that came up with that crazy plan. But haven't you done this? Haven't you done something you weren't supposed to do and you went to your parents and you just had already beat yourself up so bad in the hopes that they would take pity on you and wouldn't punish you because you had already done such a good job of it? Well, we actually think that's true with God. And it's not. God's just high-fiving whatever it is you want to do. God just says yes. Allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things. Whew. So love can't shine on anything separately. We did a dialogue, I don't know, maybe a year ago about what is love, where we contrast the ego as light bulb love, where we can turn it on and off at our pleasure, which isn't love, and we contrasted that against the sun, like S-U-N, that's out there radiating like crazy. I mean, can you imagine the sun contemplating, well, that one is not worthy enough, so I need to make sure no rays of my radiance hit that one. I mean, it's just preposterous. You recognize it just doesn't make any sense. Well, God's love is not like a light bulb. There is no chance to it be turned on or off. It just is all the time. When we're not feeling it, it's because we've closed the blinds and we've pushed love out of our awareness. Luckily, you can't actually get rid of it. You can simply push it out of your awareness.
Whenever, therefore, you recognize that you have singled someone or something out and said, they hold a greater value, you may rest assured that you are not in love at all. You are in fear. And therefore, if that one were to leave you, where would you be? But if you are in love, as a fish within the sea, all beings can arise and pass away, and you will bless them in their journey, and you will remember that you reside where God has placed you, and God has placed you in His heart. And when you choose to be only the presence of love, even the dream of loss will dissolve from your consciousness as a forest mist before the rising sun. Indeed, beloved friends, love does not wait upon your welcome. Let's try that again. Indeed, beloved friends, love does wait upon your welcome, and yet you cannot welcome love by waiting for it to to be brought to you by another, not even by me. You cannot welcome love by trying to scurry about to create the environment in which you believe your preferences are being met. You cannot welcome love when that welcome is attached or linked to any phenomenal thing, anything which has been birthed in time. Love can only be welcomed where love truly resides, and love resides within you as the core and the source of your very being.
So we talked about this thing about valuing a little bit, but rather bless every aspect of yourself who's also choosing to dream. The planet has 7 billion players on it. This is a very popular thing. Because recognize from our infiniteness, can you imagine how attractive the idea of what would it be like to be finite? Because it's a new experience, something that we had never experienced. So why not give it a try? We can't lose the truth of what we are. We can't actually be harmed. We're right at home, only dreaming that we're not. So why not? I heard Jeshua saying in channeling, someone asked him from a very place of pain, why the pain, the dream of separation? Why the suffering? Why? And Yeshua's response was 2 words. Why not? Because if the answer to the dream of separation had been no, then God wouldn't be infinite and we wouldn't be infinite. God wouldn't be free and we wouldn't be free. Like it or not, we're free and we're creating our suffering from our freedom. And we're just as free to create freedom from our freedom. Because we can put anything in the glass. Don't like milk? Pour it out. Put something else in. Empty your mind of the ideas that you have. And you don't have to put any more in. Mind training, you'll want to empty the bad out and fill it up with only good. But to truly wake up to enlightenment, you're going to empty the mind of any specifics and just be the abstract mind, the eternal beingness of what we are. It's not separate from the mind of God. So use beliefs just as pointers. Don't hold on to them. You don't need a belief in truth. That's what we created beliefs, was to try and create faux truth. But if you've noticed, your beliefs have shifted like crazy during your lifetime. And they're, Nevada, the belief is prostitution's okay. In the very next state of California, no, bad. So beliefs have no reality whatsoever. They're just as transient as the wind. So don't hold on to yours, even your highly spiritual ones, like they're really important. Because beliefs are the contents of your glass, not the glass itself. Not the mind that you are itself. So thank you for the slip, honey. I think you spoke exactly what every one of us probably thought was love does not wait on our welcome. But love does wait on your welcome. And if you're back there going, when's it going to happen? You recognize you're not really welcoming it. You cannot, and he's saying he can't do it for you. He doesn't have the power to awaken you because he's your equal. He's giving you the power by reminding you that you're doing this to yourself and you're free to wake up, but he can't do it. So all our really earnest prayers to please wake me up, is the ego in denial of the truth rather than simply acknowledging the truth that's true now and embodying that truth. Love can be welcomed only where it truly resides, which is in your being, within the consciousness, the mind that you are. Don't look for it anywhere else in any other being, or you'll continue to suffer.
Therefore, if you would know love, know yourself. Embrace the truth about it, and the truth will set you free. Then, indeed, love will flow through you, and like the great sunlight that comes to nurture this beloved earth of yours, the love that flows through you will be unimpeded, You will not meet an obstacle, and you will look upon whoever is in front of you, and you will know that they are sent to you unto you of the Father. They have been guided to you by the Holy Spirit, because through you, love can be given in a way that begins to touch the place of their awakening. That is why you are but the servant of love. That's all life is. When you choose to surrender, to give up the game, to give up the dream of trying to resist the truth that is true about you always, you will become a mere channel, a mere conduit. You will become no more a seeker, for you will have decided to have been found.
It's a big difference to have found, not to be found. To have found is you finding. To have been found would infer there was something else that found you. So it's important.
For you will have decided to have found. And surrendering the last vestige of an insane possibility of contracting away from the truth, when you've given that up, love will flow through you. But notice that if it flows through you, it must first flow to you. Therefore, seek always to receive in order to give. For what can you give another if you have not yet given it to yourself?
So this first line, therefore, if you would know love, capital L love, know your capital S self. Know that you are love. You and the Creator are one. It is not apart from you. It is not outside of you. There is no greater source of love than you. You are its actual expression. Love in its expression of being all kinds of great things with incredible variety. All is okay. Love will flow through you. I sucked at loving. I did light bulb love for a long time, and it didn't leave me anything but with a high friggin' power bill and a lot of suffering, because I was trying to love in a way that light bulb love, separate love, can't love. When I abandoned that, when I took the ego light bulb out and plugged into the God Son love, all of a sudden it was effortless. Because the source just, that's what it does. It doesn't have to choose to do it. It doesn't have to turn itself on and off. It doesn't have to break a sweat to do it. It just does it. And it's radiating all the time. Gone is the ability with a separate self to say, oh, I've got to limit my light because I'm in a place that's not very holy. I'm in a kind of sinful bar or something. Bullshit. The light is the light wherever it is. And it only shines upon itself, capital S, self. So embrace the truth about it, and the truth will set you free. The truth is, God is not outside of you, other than and apart from you. So you're free to stop doing what you've been doing to yourself and everyone else now. That's the truth that sets you free. And you've come to that truth and answer your own call. No one else can do it for you. I'm doing my best to remind you. You've brought the call this close. Are you ready to accept it? And the love will flow through you unimpeded, because gone will be this idea of how you would limit it. Oh, no, love's only supposed to look like this. Love's not supposed to do things like turn the money changer tables over. You won't be attached to it anymore, and you'll just let it flow. And it'll flow in ways that will blow your mind. People come to sit with me, and love does its thing, and at the end, we both kind of look at each other in awe. Wow, what just happened here? It's a surprise, but it usually contains a great big revelation. So when people come to you, they're guided by the Holy Spirit. Because you, as you wake up and that light begins to shine, the Holy Spirit will start sending those to you who have decided to awaken but are still a little struggling, so that somebody can look them in the face and say, yeah, you're holy. Right now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go on some spiritual sojourn. Right now. And you're perfect. And you're innocent. And you've never done anything wrong. And that truth is true now. I mean, no more going to church, no more tithing, no more I was born in sin. You were born eternal, infinite, so you had a dream about sin. That doesn't make it true. And I can tell you there's great joy in being the servant of love. Because you're no longer in conflict with anyone. If they're dreaming and they want to convince themselves that they're unworthy, sure, let them do it. I'm not going to join them in that. I'm going to know they're using the infinite power of their Christ self to create their experience. And more power to them. Would I want to stop them using their power? No. I might remind them, do you know you have another choice? And if they're willing to listen, then they'll come and be sent. But gone is trying to convince people. Gone is running out to get all those poor lost souls and sinners. Because there are none. There's only Christ's, God's playing at sleepiness. Big deal. Big deal. So when you choose to surrender and give up the game, and that's all it is, a game, and we're going to do 2 movies, by the way. The next 2 movies are going to be The Game and The Man Who Knew Too Little, about 2 different approaches to playing the game. And I'm going to talk about this where Cindy said, for you will have decided to have found, not to have been found, because to have been found, and again, Cindy reads it the way our minds assume it, like God will find me, rather than I will have found that I am the creator of my experience and that I have the power given me by God to change that at any moment that I choose. And you will marvel that the truth that sets you free has been there the whole stinking time. And it's the very simple power of choice. Because you will have found your capital S self. You will have found it. And you will have found it within as the source of your very being, as what you are. So just look at all the ways you're actually denying that you are the one who will find yourself and you're waiting to be found. He just said He can't find you. He can't do it for you. What will it be? And this thing about love must flow first to you. Because when we all try and manufacture love, doesn't it get really exhausting? To try and love everyone and try and be loving and do loving acts and all that kind of crazy stuff. It's exhausting. From our light bulb love, it just sucks. But when you receive, which is your inheritance, not because you're worthy of it, but when you simply take your light bulb out and say, I'm not playing separate anymore, and you accept the extension cord of the sun, if you will, God's love, it won't have any choice to radiate. It's because it's like the sun. That's just what it is. You wouldn't even have a dream of attempting to impede it. Because why would you want to pick a part of yourself out of the crowd and say, that part of me who's having a particularly nasty dream, they're unworthy of love. They're unworthy to be free. They're unworthy to create. You'll just let it shine on everyone. Sinner, saint, they're all playing the same game. Would you continue to want to judge that? Or just be Christ and celebrate the fact that that's what's happening and help those that come to you, just as you would help yourself. So you must receive that love for yourself, from yourself, and I'm not talking about the body mind here. I'm talking about the big S. It's really important because the little s doesn't know how to give itself love. It only knows how to judge itself. So I'm talking about the big S, or big ass self. You must receive what you are in truth. You must be found of your big ass self, which won't be something that miraculously happens outside of you. I mean, has anyone said that God came to me as another form? Everyone who wakes up says it's an inner experience. Jeshua said 2,000 years ago, the kingdom of heaven is within, and we all run around looking without. So He sends us pathways to say, great, see this pathway? Look within. That's where it's at. Look within.
How many of you have ever been taught to try to love, to try to do the right thing, the good thing, whatever that is supposed to mean. And yet, how many times have you gone within your secret chamber and said, I am unworthy? And then you wonder why your attempts to join in love with others never seems to be quite fulfilling enough, never quite seems to fill the cup, never quite seems to elicit the joy that you believed would be there. For indeed, listen well, your work, if you wish to call it that, is not to seek and find love, 'tis merely to turn within, to discover every obstacle that you have created to its presence, and to offer that obstacle to the great dissolver of dreams, the grace of the Holy Spirit.
Well, we just talked a little bit about that, but I want to make this point that he says to do the, quote, right things or the, quote, good things, and he goes on to say, whatever that's supposed to mean. So for all of us who think God is expecting us to do the good things, the right things, he's saying, we don't share your opinion in that way. By no means am I condoning going out in the world and doing bad things. But the point is, thinking you will get some extra favor by doing good things or doing the right things, recognize even those beings who have done the most egregiously wrong things by the world's standards, they still have their power to choose. They still have the power to create. The truth is still true for them, no matter what they've done. So abandon. In enlightenment, good and bad won't make any sense to you anymore. Doing things because they're the right thing to do, you'll kind of go, well, who says? Who says what's the right things to do? And if you'll notice, if you think they're right things, you've also got a healthy database of what's wrong. And all that's still playing in the game of separation. But I am unworthy. I know many of you in here, that was yours. Mine was, I'm always abandoned. That was my secret thing. I'm always going to be abandoned. I've always been abandoned. I used to tell, that's the story of my life. Well, of course it was, because I was telling it. I was creating that as a story of my life. And I had a lot of loving beings show up to say, oh, it's like they show up, they read my soul card that says, I'm playing abandonment. So they're like, ooh, I know what to do. I'll get really close, and then I'll fulfill his wish, and I'll abandon him. And that's what every being that you've called into your experience has reflected back. What are you playing? Marion played, I'm not good enough. And didn't you have many beings who came to say, oh, you're playing I'm not good enough? Here's another proof. As you wish, because everybody's in on it. It's an inside job. Everybody's in on it. Unless you wake up out of it, and then you'll have a whole new purpose. A whole new purpose. So what is it that you go into your secret chamber and say, I must deny that I'm Christ, so I'm going to believe? Nobody loves me. That's what I'll choose. Let's see, what's another one? Let me feel out there and see what's out there. Bad things always happen to me. Why? Here's another one. I'm right. I'm right, damn it, and they're wrong. You've all got them. Has everybody got yours? You know what it is? So, if you know what it is, it's attached like a spider web to lots of subtler things, which are your blocks to love. And I've done several dialogues about how to dissolve it, how to find it, give it up. I've done one about hoarding and using a glass table. I've done a clean slate. There are lots of beautiful techniques that Jeshua gave me that I used because I believed I needed them. That was the joke about the whole thing. So he gave me tools even though I didn't need them. I mean, I wish he just would have snickered when he handed them to me because I thought they were these great spiritual revelations. Well, he was still meeting me in my dream state. But if those things are there, use those tools. Use those tools.
I have said unto you many times that the greatest of gifts you can give is this, to come wholly to the recognition that every attempt you have made to resist being the presence of Christ has failed you miserably. No matter how many times you have tried to convince yourself that you are unworthy, yet does the universe find a way to love you. No matter how many times you have tried to lock yourself into the space and volume of a body, it hasn't succeeded. And at death, you have remembered and been confronted with the radiance of your unlimitedness. Therefore, indeed, the greatest of gifts you can give another is to be one who has rescinded the need to insist on the insanity of fear.
My attempts to deny the truth did fail miserably. Miserably. And yours are going to fail too. You're going to wake up. You're going to remember that this is the truth. And sooner rather than later, if you wish. Why not now? Why not now? Because no matter how many times you've told yourself you're unworthy, the next chance that you go into your inner closet, don't you have the freedom to say, I and the Father are one? You can say I'm unworthy 10 million times to yourself, but that never limits the next one being true, does it? So you're never locked into your belief. You're never locked into the dream. Because you can never lose the ability to choose. You might have habituated it. And by the way, a habit's no longer a habit when you're aware of it. Then it's a conscious choice. So if you think this is a habit you can't break, well, look at what you're using your Christed power to create. And I bet what your experience is going to be is, this habit is hard to break. But you're using the power of your Christness to create it. Why wouldn't you use the power of your Christness to wake up and create effortlessness and ease and be that through which the radiant love can flow? And you'll do as I'm doing, and you may not do it in front of a room with a bunch of people. So those, there are people out there like, I don't know if I want to be up there. Well, we'll see what love does with you. And you'll be that through which the love extends in a reminder. Not that you're bad, not that you're guilty, not that you've done anything wrong, but that you played. Big deal. Here's the truth. It's available to you. It may sound preposterous to your sleeping mind, but it's still true. Are you willing to try it on? That's a pretty good gig. That's a pretty good gig, and we're way past crucifying Christs for actually telling the truth.
Fearlessness is the primary characteristic of mastery. And mastery is not having great power to make things happen. Mastery is only the recognition that what is true always, and there is no other choice. Free will does not mean that you have the right to believe that you can succeed at being other than what God created you to be. Having free will does not mean that you can elect not to take the only curriculum that life is offering to you in every moment. It means only that you do have the right to put it off yet another day, and each time you put it off, you slumber in your suffering. But when you elect to take the only curriculum that matters, when you elect to use the power of your free will to say, now, from this moment on, I will no longer tolerate error in myself. No more games, no more dreams. I am committed to being only the presence of love, for that is the truth of who I am. It matters not the opinions of others who are yet resisting that decision.
We just did the movie Cafe last Friday, and this whole question about free will comes up. People are like, well, do I have free will or do I don't? What is it? Well, the truth that God created is true. We don't have free will to change what God created. That's why we came up with this crazy dream, because we could think we had that power. So the only power that you truly have is not to change the truth, but to resist what the truth already is. So delay is the only power, an egoic, separate being, free will, that is the only power that it has. And if you're in this room or you're listening to this, Go ahead and admit it. That's what I've used my free will for, is to deny and delay the truth. I've gotten close enough that I'm like window shopping with the truth. I'm listening to John Mark's talk, so I'm taking a look. Maybe I want to wake up. Maybe I'm not sure. But the point is, that's the truth of it. So when you elect to take the only curriculum that matters, and that is simply the truth is true. And it's true right now. I am as I was created to be, and I will stop denying it. And who can stop the denial of it? When you go in your little closet and you do your I'm unworthy mantra, and how many of us have done that like 1,000,000 times? I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, whatever it is for you. Just stop. Nobody can stop it for you. You were powerful enough to create it. You were powerful enough to repeat it to yourself enough times that you became identified with it. It's time to stop. From this moment on, I will no longer tolerate it. At some point, an alcoholic has to put the bottle down and no longer tolerate picking it up. You have to put down whatever your inner secret is and not pick it back up. Period. In any expression. You know, when Jeshua helped me see very clearly what mine was, he said, now, I offer you the power of Christ, which you already have, to put that down and don't pick it back up. And I said, Jeshua, no, take it away. Take it away. I want to surrender the right to even choose that. And he said, do you hear what you just said? You really said, I want to make my dream real and I want to take away the power I have to create because I don't trust myself to create. We can never take away the power of creation. We can never limit the choices that are available. What we can do is master the choices that we make. So recognize the desire to give up the power that you have been using because you frightened yourself with it, rather than recognizing, oh, I'm grateful I have infinite possibility and infinite freedom. It's my responsibility as Christ to pick only that which I choose to experience. So don't give your power away. That's just another ego trick trying to limit you even more. Rather be grateful that you could choose whatever it was you chose and be grateful for how well you did it. But keep the power of choice and just make different choice. Pray this prayer. And Cindy shared the last prayer with us in the last lesson. I think there'll be one in almost every lesson from here on out. I am committed to being only the presence of love. And remember, he told us what love is. Because you might go, well, I don't know what being the presence of love is. Love allows all things, embraces all things, trusts all things, and is forever transcendent of all things. So not affected by the things that seem to be happening. Wouldn't you like to be the presence of that Christ peace in the world where everybody's scared to death so that they could come to you and be reminded? It's a really good gig. It's a lot of fun. For that is the truth of who I am. And you will no longer deny it. Because nobody's been denying the truth of who you are except you and all the other beings you called into your experience to be codependent with you. You know, it's like when the souls greet, there is an exchange. Oh, I see you're playing this. Okay. I know we're all in on this, so I'm going to reflect that back to you. And that actually must go on. The only way out of that cycle is to wake up. And then you're empowered by the power of Christ to only reflect the truth. Because every other sleeping being, that's why I said the blind leading the blind, the sleeping are only going to reflect back what was collectively being slept. Do you see what I mean? It matters not the opinions of others who are yet resisting your decision to awaken. Because when you decide to awaken, you're going to break a whole lot of codependent relationships with a whole lot of other beings. And I've heard people say, whoa, wait a minute. We made agreements to do that before we incarnated, and I'm not supposed to violate those agreements. Well, I can assure you, in every one of those soul contracts, if you will, there's an asterisk, unless I choose to awaken. Unless I choose to no longer deny the truth, because, by the way, that's the truth anyway. that makes all agreements at smallness null and void. And no soul, a body mind may be pretty pissed off, but I can assure you the soul on the other side is like, woohoo! Christ is free, and it is you. So, body minds may resist your decision. Big deal. If you want to continue to let other body minds keep you from accepting the truth which is true, keep you from being the presence of love, then you've taken your Christed power, you're not only using it for yourself, but you're giving it to another sleeping mind and saying, you control me. That's nuts. That's insanity. It's one flavor of separation, but you don't need to play it. But I will no longer tolerate error in myself. So you can't pray to God out there, I only want so-and-so thoughts. It's you that's creating the thoughts. No thought shows up that you haven't ordered. You have to be responsible for that. It's your gig. It's your dream.
Then indeed, all things under heaven and earth will move to support you, to guide you to the right person, the right place, the right book, the right sunrise, the right meadow, in order to assist you in dropping the shackles of the obstacles to the presence of love that you have created as an idol and as a substitute for love. And that is why, when truly you pray from the depth of your soul, Father, bring me home, you may rest assured from that moment on, it's okay to trust every little thing that unfolds. For though you see it not, what you would call the angels, friends that simply don't have bodies, are rushing about because you have given the commandment to say, yes, I accept your presence in my life. I turn the whole thing over. Now, each moment is dedicated to healing and awakening the illusory sense of separation from God that once I created in error. Love, in how many ways have you sought it? Can you count the ways? Would you dare to try to count each little pebble of sand on the beaches of your planet? For rest assured, each and every soul has already tried to seek out love in that many ways, if not more. You have sought it in a million forms in which you already knew that you could not find it, all because you wanted to perpetuate the insane attempt to try to separate yourself from God, and that is as futile as a sunbeam trying to separate itself from the sun.
If you're in this room or you're listening to this video, you may not be consciously aware of it, but from the depth of your soul, you have prayed, Father, bring me home. You would not be here if the soul had already not made that decision, recognizing I've played all the separation I need to play. I've explored every potential fear-based, separation-based thing. I need no more suffering. I need no more pain. I need no more loss. I need no more guilt. I need no more shame. I need no more nothing. So if that prayer has been authentically prayed, because you couldn't be hearing this if it hadn't, you'd be watching, some sitcom or some, quote, reality TV show on TV. It's time for you to get your conscious thinking awareness in absolute alignment with the prayer your soul has already prayed. Then you watch what happens. Then the Spirit will move mountains out of your consciousness to awaken you to the truth of who you are. And it's amazing when Jeshua showed me the support that all beings have in this regard, because you're the child of God. You're Christ. When you say unworthy, of course you command creation to show you that. But when you pray, Father, bring me home, all of creation will come in support of that, because it's the highest thing in all of creation. Everything will come in support of it. And when this work started and He showed me the beings, the angels, if you will, that would be expressed in helping those through one who wakes, I was blown away. Marion and I were in Santa Fe, and he said, a flood of beings are in support of this work. Whew. Because of who we are. and because we're worthy of every last aspect of truth and of love and of peace. So move your conscious awareness into alignment with Father, bring me home. And you're dedicated to healing and awakening the illusionary sense of separation from God. Not an actual separation. At least let into your mind, what if God, I said to Jeshua, I said, well, what about this whole separation thing? He said, God is all that is. And I didn't get it. I said, huh? He said, God is all that is. I said, dude, okay, I recognize I'm in denial or something here. He said, God is all that is. And then it dawned on me. Fuck, I'm part of all that is. I'm not apart from all that is. I'm in all that is. I can't be outside of all that is. Shit, there never was a separation. Damn, it was all made up in my mind. God is all that is, and that includes you. There is nothing outside. Right now. Even if you don't believe it, it's still true. So love in all the ways that you sought it, rather than holding all your grievances about all the ways in which you sought love and it failed so miserably, what if you were absolutely grateful that you checked off every last potential and now you're done and you can kick back and say, I'm ready to awaken. Bring all the help there is. Because maybe if you hadn't have squeezed in enough in this lifetime, you might have cycled back around to try again. So what if you were actually grateful for all those? And grateful for the ones that continue to show up in your face, that are trying to help you release them. And I don't know if you've noticed, but healing can't happen when you're unaware of it. Healing only happens when it comes out of your suppressed subconscious and it comes into your conscious awareness and you go, shit, I must have been insane to believe that. I'm going to let that go. And you can heal it. You can only heal it in the conscious mind. The ego wants to keep it all hidden. You're like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. If you knew that the only thing separating you from the kingdom and what you seem to be experiencing is you're actually loving those things, accepting them, embracing them, trusting that they had a great purpose, and then releasing them, maybe you'd get on about doing it. Maybe you would be eager to see what you hid down there, not afraid of it. Fearlessness is what he talked about before in that way. So you have sought in a million forms that which you already knew. So recognize on the soul level, all of this was a conscious choice. Back to the second axiom. I need do nothing, but I choose to explore. What would it be like to be separate? What would it be like to have this cosmic adventure? So we did it. Big deal. The truth is still true. We couldn't actually change the truth. Thank you very much. Whew. And all because you wanted to perpetuate it. You wanted to experience what would it be like. Have you had enough? If not, it's okay. You can go get your guilt sponge and squeeze every last drop out. You can get your unworthiness or not good enough and you can squeeze every last part of it out. And when you're done, when you've had enough, when peace means more to you than this suffering, you'll choose peace. And if you're experiencing suffering, at least be honest with yourself and go, well, this must be more important to me than peace. Maybe I'll make another decision. So we never actually were out of all that is. How did we convince ourselves? I mean, that's the real mystery. That's the miraculous thing, is that we actually could believe that we were. Yes! We're all so good. That's how powerful creators we are. Wow. So I'm actually grateful that we seem to make the manifest real. I mean, the impossible manifested as real, but we actually didn't. I want to just make a point here. He has said, indeed, so many times in this lesson. Do you remember how he defined it at the beginning? The only option. I'm going to replace that with duh. It's the only option. Duh. So go back when you read this lesson and look at how many times he say indeed. Because if you look in your consciousness, you will believe that there is another option. You will actually believe that there's another option, and that's why you believe you're separate. When you surrender, oh my gosh, I made that up. Indeed, that's the only option. Only the truth that God created is true. Well, there you go. So, duh.
Indeed. Duh. Beloved friends, there is only one question you need answer. What am I choosing in this moment? What have I given mastery over my life unto? What perception, what thought, what feeling, since feeling merely flows from the thought or the perception you have chosen? What behavior, what action am I choosing in this moment, and does it express the reality of my beingness? Am I being busy extending love, or am I busying myself fearfully, trying to grasp at what I think can give me love so that I don't lose it? Look well then upon your parents, your siblings, and your mates and your friends. Not one of them holds the power to bring love to you. So what are you trying to get from them? Why do you ever insist that another ought to be conformed to what you believe you need? It's futile. 100%, absolutely, positively futile to seek love in relationship with anything or anyone. It is, however, quite appropriate to extend love in each relationship with everyone and everything. But the extension of that love requires that you have awakened to the truth that the only relationship that truly holds value is the relationship between you as the soul and the Father or God as your creator.
So all of those of us who ask in prayer, question after question after question after question, God give me this, God do this, God do this, blah, 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 blah. Every one of those is really a denial because you're saying God's out there and I'm separate and I'm empty and I'm ego and I need something from out there to fulfill me. Please bring me a sexy mate that's a non-smoker and 125 pounds and brunette hair with an Australian accent. I mean, our desires for love can get really specific. And if you look at that whole manifesting stuff around the secret that he talked about in this previous lesson, just look at it. We've all played the what if the lottery game, right? Haven't we all? Every one of those things is an idol. Every single one of those things you think would bring you some sense of love that would change the state of your being. Nothing would do that. I'm not saying the lottery's bad. Somebody here in Asheville won it not all that long ago. The point is, recognize where you're creating idols that are blocking you from love. So what perception, what thought, what feeling, since feelings merely flow from thoughts and perceptions. Now, I've mentioned this before, but when the ego gets onto the fact that you're watching thoughts, it's going to get sneaky, and it's going to start expressing feelings, and you'll go, oh, I just feel, because you'll catch the thought, and you'll go, well, that's not true. A feeling is just a wordless thought. It's time to look on the feelings and go, oh, I don't have to believe that either. And then you'll have mastery over the feelings. They won't whip you around like they do. So no feeling can arise in your consciousness without a belief underneath it. No thought can arise in your consciousness without a belief for it to come from. So look where you have those. And don't beat yourself up for them. Recognize they were the requisite ego separation necessary beliefs. I had to have them to convince myself I was separate. They're not bad. You needed them to have the experience. Bless them and let them go. Stop playing with them. Don't beat yourself up for them. Just own them as your own creation in order to have this experience and let them go. It doesn't need to take a long time to clean that closet out. So let your parents off the hook, let your siblings off the hook, let your mates off the hook, let your friends off the hook. All the people that you say, you behave in a way that I don't like, or if you behave differently, or when you change, then I'll be happy. I mean, it's absolutely, completely insane, and it's 100% futile. And I don't know, part of the dynamic between Cindy and I was the fixer. I knew how to fix things. Will you recognize what I had to do to Cindy for me to be a fixer? Well, she had to be broken. I created the sense that she was broken. She wasn't broken, but I created that sense so that I could fulfill my wiser, smarterness to be the fixer. So where might you be doing that? Not recognizing that you're imprisoning yourself and the other beings. You were never broken, honey. Perfect and innocent. But thank you for playing that game with me. You were very convincing and you needed to be. But this game is absolutely futile. And of course you needed a fixer, right? I mean, we were both in on it. So, but this is the thing. Can you engage with your partner and recognize, wow, how well did we do this? And can we stop together? Are we willing to join in that prayer to awaken and change the relationship from being that we used to play special relationship to seeking the one holy relationship in its fullest expression? Can we be two lights, not two light bulbs looking for the other one to light us up, but rather two beings through which the love of God expresses? That's a different purpose for relationship. So look at where your grievances are and quit giving your grievances a bunch of reality. Quit giving your parents mistreated you. Well, who said parents aren't supposed to do that? In the game of separation, that's a pretty common thing. I think even those of us who had loving parents still want to blame them, don't we? We still find something they should have done differently or should have done more of or should have done less of. Well, that's prerequisite in the whole separation game. Let them off the hook. Quit giving you the judgments you placed on it reality. It'll be a whole lot easier to release them. You can release them in joy and happiness and thank them for doing their part in creating your experience of separation. But maybe you wake up and think of the gift you'll be able to give them. You'll be able to give them the opportunity to make that same choice for themselves so that they don't have to suffer anymore. They don't have to play the game of separation. They may not be ready to. They may not want to awaken, and that's okay. But your extension of the truth to them will still be true. So it's quite appropriate to extend love in every relationship. But the only love that you can truly extend, because there's only one source of love, and that's the Christ, God love, whatever you want to call it. And you won't be the maker and the doer of that. You won't be the one to decide, Mariah gets extra today. Sam did something so he gets a lower version today. It's just, hey, here's all of it. Would you like it? And everybody gets it. Whew. That's it for tonight, huh? Wow. So how about love heals all things? So I'm going to give you a tip. Are you ready? Tips, tricks, and pebbles. Love heals all things. I'm going to give you some synonyms for love. Peace heals all things. Joy heals all things. Infinitude heals all things. Total acceptance heals all things. Whatever you want to ascribe as a quality to an all perfectly loving God, you might substitute that word in there, because love is really the whole kit and caboodle. Because sometimes we're really conflicted about love. I had someone come to sit with me the other day, and we had to clarify, maybe love's not what we thought it was in the world. So maybe joy heals all things. So wait, if I looked, and it's not you, but you could be joy. You are joy, aren't you, joy? So joy heals all things. Can I look at my past in joy? What would that do to my grievances? What would that do to my pain? How much fun might forgiveness be if joy heals all things? You see what I mean? So this is very dynamic. And it's you being in the place of responsibility. So love heals all things. I get very excited about this. Channeling love is just magnificent. So next week we'll continue our deeper exploration of lesson number 6. Does anyone have any questions or comments tonight? Pretty clear explanation of the truth. So do you continue to want to use your free will to deny that it's true? Because the ego will say, that's fucking preposterous. That is the craziest thing. You know, the last guy that came that said that same stuff, they killed that guy. So you better not believe it. They put him on a cross. But by the way, he came back and said, Baal, I told you so. Yuck, 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 yuck. Wow, I just love myself. Big S, big ass self. And that includes each and every one of you. How easy is that? Yes, that's why these arms are wide open. So anyone who wants to quicken your journey of remembrance, you can come to me. No bullshit, I'm not going to believe your story. We usually don't even talk about people's stories when they come. We just get right to the truth. And all of a sudden, in the presence of the truth, the story looks crazy. The story looks like, oh my gosh, how could that be so? But you're welcome to come sit with me or call on the phone or Skype or whatever. And I actually record those things so you can take them home and listen to them, because we will cover more territory than you can imagine. The revelations come so quickly. So you can watch or listen to those things later. We're going to be doing a plurk shop. Somebody asked me, what's a plurk shop? Well, it's more play than work. Is this work? I'm not sweating up here. I'm not like, fuck, I got to do another dang channeling tonight. That's crazy. I don't want to do that. It's more play than work. The whole thing was about play. You were unconscious to the fact that you were playing. So it's not a spiritual healing doesn't need to be burdensome and work. It doesn't have to be. If that's the way you want to play it out, okay, at least own that that's what you're making. But it can actually be liberating, fun, and easy. But we're doing a plurk shop in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin in October, and we're prepared to come anywhere in the world to do the same thing. If you'd like to have love and one who wakes come and show up. Love offering, wow. Love heals all things. Love allows all things, trusts all things, and love fills the basket. But nonetheless, this is the truth of love. I know that you are already giving all of your Christed love to every other being. Always have been. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up and do that consciously? Because that's all Jeshua and I do when we come to do this work, and all the other flood of beings that are supporting this work and this expression of love. If you're so inclined, if this is moving you, and I can tell that it's moving many of you, would you consider a love offering? Because we are sustained by the love of God, which, by the way, is you. We don't have any other source of income in this family. So we rely on your generosity, your love, your compassion. So if you're interested, put it in the basket. If you're online, go to onewhowakes.org. In the upper right-hand corner is a give button, and it will accept all kind of PayPal, will accept international donations, no problemo. So I'm grateful to my brother who called bullshit on my dreams, that Jeshua came and popped into my consciousness in the answer to my prayer, Father, I'm ready to awaken. And he called bullshit. He wouldn't give me any leeway. The truth was true, and only the truth was true, and it's true now. And everything else was my own contraption, my own contrivance, so to speak. So I thank him, and I'm grateful that you have each made that choice, and I'm grateful that this was the context in which you came to hear another message that the truth is true now. We love you with an absolutely infinite love and a perfect peace, and nobody gets a bigger prize if the last chapter of your story is great suffering. So make it effortless and easy. You're not, that whole thing about the master, his parable about the guys who worked in the master's field, even the ones who only worked like 20 minutes got the same pay as the guys that worked their ass off. So do you want to be effortless awakening, or do you want it to continue to be hard? The prize is the same. It's your choice. Announcements real quick. Do I have anything else? Did I do infinite love and perfect peace? Wow, I'm just so high right now I can't stand myself. Well, blessings and good night. Those of you who are here, please stick around for announcements. Whew. What's that? No, they can stick around. Honey, I think you had a little channeling tonight, didn't you? Okay, our awakening retreat. Our awakening retreat in October, a playful awakening retreat. This is a place you can come and come out of your closet and try for a weekend. What would it be like to actually be awake as Christ? You can come try it on if you want. This isn't about a heavy, we're all sinners and this is a really big deal and really bad things are happening. This is an opportunity for you to come and play as Christ. Take a weekend and try. And then you can go back home and decide, am I still unworthy or am I okay to be as Christ? So this is a safe place for you to come out at least for 3 days. Info's on the website and you can register there. Ooh, cool. On the website now, all One Who Wakes videos, both Way of Mastery and the dialogues, are on the website. And also MP3s or audio-only versions. For those of you who've been waiting to download them and put them on your phone, you can now download them directly from the website. And as an added bonus, I have put 400 audios of Jeshua channeling through Paul Tuttle. 400 what I call shorts. Some of them are a minute, some of them are 20 minutes. On all kinds of subjects. Some related to A Course in Miracles, some just straight up truth. So if you want to come play with those, you're welcome to. You can download those too. And I thank Paul Tuttle and Jeshua for the suggestion.